if we wanted to test the function that's on the screen at the moment, there's a couple of potential issues. The first one is that we're referencing the post variable. Now, we fixed this previously by sending the data into the validate registration function, which we tested before, as an argument. And while that's fine and that works, we can't really do that for every function. We don't want to make it an argument to the register submit function, because otherwise all our controller functions will need get and post as a argument. That's going to be a fair amount of repetition. So rather than passing it in as arguments, we can just create class variables for get and post, and then pass in a get and post array to every controller. Now, you might think we're just adding some extra code here for no benefit, and I'll come on to the benefit in the moment. But all we're doing is creating some class variables in the same way we have with other class variables that are promoted from the constructor. So you pass in the constructor arguments, authors table, get and post. They're copied to the corresponding class variables. And I did a video on this, why we've got this get equals get, this post equals post, when I introduced the database table class. So if you're not quite familiar with why we've got this something equals something in our constructors, go back to the video on constructors, and I did cover that there. But once we've got these class variables get and post, we can then reference them using this post or this get. And any of our functions can now use the post and get arrays through the class variable. So we've added some new code here. We've made the thing slightly more complicated. For what reason? Well, the reason for that is that we can now test the class, because we can create some test post data that mimics a form submission and then just pass that in as an argument for our test. So when we test the author controller, we can pass in some test data in our test, in our PHP unit test, create this dummy array that represents $_post and pass it in. And then on the real website, where we're using the class and the functions inside it in the real site, we can just pass in the real get and post variables, and that will take data from the form. But for our tests, we can substitute get and post with some test data that we want to send into the class for testing purposes. And that gives us then complete control over what's sent into the class, and gives us some flexibility that we can use get and post, but we can also substitute that for some test data.